Welcome to the Stoic habitat. In this jungle, we speak the ancient philosophies that will help better gorillas for all mankind and the purpose of healing. Together, we'll learn, we'll laugh, we'll explore. So thank you for joining me. I am your host, G1, aka the Black Stoic. Let's talk. On the Black Stoic, I like to start off with a quote from an ancient philosopher. Maybe anything from the Western world to the Eastern world and all things in between, spiritual, political, you never know. But the point is, there's some deep diving that we're going to do on each one of these quotes to find out why this ancient philosophies are still hanging around and still being a guideline for us to follow if we want to live a more enriched life. Today, I'd like to talk to you about a quote that I found in the passage of Marcus Aurelius' book, Meditations. Man, a wealth of knowledge that we can utilize to this very day, especially in the times we're living in right now, when we need some realism, not some spookism, realism. We go over ancient philosophies, break them down, apply them to what's going on in our regular lives right now, and use them as tools so we can win this thing called life. With that being said, I like to start off every episode with a quote that's going to set the tempo for what our discussion is going to entail today. Concentrate every minute like a Roman, like a man, on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness, tenderly, willingly, with justice, and on freeing yourself from all other distractions. Yes, you can. If you do everything as if it were your last thing you were doing in your life, and stop being aimless. Stop letting your emotions override what your mind tells you. Stop being hypocritical, self-centered, irritable. You see how few things you have to do to live a satisfying and reverent life? If you can manage this, that's all the gods can ask of you. So let's go a little bit deeper. Something that everyone can partake in, male or female, young or old. But let's dive a little bit deeper and see how it applies to what's going on right now and how you can take some of these nuggets for your own good and apply it to your life so you too, like Marcus Aurelius, can become emperor of your world. There's a lot of layers to this, and we're going to dive into each one of those layers and talk a little bit more about it. So this is something that can be used by all genders, all trains of thought, if it has to do with discipline and success, and how you can apply it in your life. So let's dive a little bit deeper. First, he says, concentrate every minute like a Roman, like a man, on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness, tenderly, willingly, with justice. Now that's a whole lot. That's a whole lot to break down, but we're gonna unpack this. So let's start with the first word he says, concentrate. Concentrate. Focus is what this is all about. The Stoic life is a life that is bent on focus, and that focus is turned inwardly so you can direct the lens on yourself by what's going on around you, as everything that emanates inside of you comes out, and that is like you watching the big screen at a movie theater. Well, the big screen may look like what's going on around you, but the projector is right there on the inside. Thank me later. Concentrate every minute like a Roman. Well, of course, you can think about the Roman centurions, the guards, the men who were trained to focus for combat, the men who were trained politicians, the men who were trained to beautify a society that frankly still lives on. So you can never really say Rome truly fell. And there's ways we can talk about that too. You have the Vatican, that is Rome, Italy, still very wide open. It's not anything like it used to be, but things move on. Some things die, some new things are born. And either way, we have a culture that continues on. So, like a man, but if you're not a Roman, is basically what he's saying, concentrate like a man on doing what's in front of you. Now, here's something that I think even I kind of get mixed up on with all the distractions that come in everyday life. He says, concentrate like a man on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness. So precise meaning accurate, meaning that you're measuring twice, you're cutting once, meaning that you are doing everything with the utmost in the highest level of precision necessary to craft the perfect product or the perfect service or the perfect consultation, the perfect sales. Whatever it is that your discipline drives you in, concentrate on that like it's the only thing in front of you, okay? And so then he says, in genuine seriousness. Now, how many times do you hear genuine and seriousness together? Not very often, okay? Genuine and seriousness. Man, listen, if you're genuine, you know what that means. You're real. And like gorilla, you're real. You know, you're genuine. You're one of a kind. You're about quality. You are who you say you are. You're not hiding behind something, whether it's words, whether it's a picture, whether it's whatever facade that you can hide behind, that you can create for yourself. And we can go on down a list, but use your imaginations. The number's infinite on different things that you can create to hide behind, okay? The mind creates it, and then it's born into reality through material hands and crafting. So what he's saying is genuine seriousness. Being serious, think about that term, serious. Like there's no joking, no time for playing, no time for anything other than the mission, anything other than the task at hand. Anything other than what we're doing right here and right now that's in front of us is totally irrelevant. That's the level of concentration you have to have. That's the level of concentration that was held by a man of Marcus Aurelius' caliber. I mean, if you start looking at his history and how he applied what he's saying in just this passage alone, you can see why he was one of the 5 great emperors. Now, all that being said is that we understand how important it is to focus. Nothing happens without it. Here's the funny thing. You have times when you focus and you know that you're focusing, but it doesn't feel like you're applying any effort to do it. You're just focusing. Why? Because it's something that's interesting to you. It's a high level of interest that's captivated your attention right now, and you're giving it away willingly because you feel like there's something in it for you. And that something is what's got your attention. Can I create this? Can I say this? Can I do this? Can I use this? And that's where the concentration part comes in, and you give it up. You give that focus willingly. Some people just spend too much time doing this. You know what that is? You know what that is. You're familiar. You're familiar. You know, sometimes you do it this way, sometimes you do it that way, but normally it's like this. You know, and it's that tool that you're using to the lowest level of possibility, efficiency, and what you can truly do if you apply some imagination towards anything with these tools that we now have. So with that being said, he continues to say, and on freeing yourself from all other distractions, on freeing yourself. He really didn't want that to end. He didn't want that to end, so he started that sentence off with and. Okay? And on freeing yourself from all other distractions. Now, how do you free yourself from distractions? Well, one of the ways is that you focus and you concentrate. And that's one of the key ways it's going to happen no matter what it is. You free yourself from distraction by focusing on one thing, what's in front of you, right? Okay, so what he also says, this very poignant in here, is that freeing yourself can also be done when you're in a state of flow. Whoa. That man said it. Somebody better write that one down. Somebody better write that one down. Wow. It's state of flow. The state of flow is so key and so important. Why? Because a state of flow is something that you go into doing something that has captivated your attention, and you give yourself to it willingly without even knowing. And you enter in a state, a theta state, a beta state, an alpha state, to where you're just working and you're just moving and you're shaking and you are truly limitless at this. You're honed in. You are now the vessel. Let me tell you what happens when that happens. Let's first of all make sure everybody's had this moment, okay? Think of something you were doing. If you were making beats, if you were writing rhymes, writing poetry, if you were creating something, if you're designing something, if you were doing anything and you decided that, you know, this is what I want to do, and you sit down and you start doing it, right? And before you know it, it's 2 hours in and you haven't even got up out of the chair yet. You know, it's 3 hours in and you're still just, you know, cranking along. You're 4 hours in, and every time somebody comes in, you tell them, hey, you know, go on out. You know, it may happen to me from time to time. You know, get out of here. I'm still working. And you're serious, and so serious and genuine that you may not be saying things like you normally say them. You may say them depending on where you're at in that moment. But the point is, you're in a state of flow, if you even acknowledge them at all. And that state of flow allows your mind to drift somewhere else and your body to be somewhere else. But at the same time, you're working and you're focused on what it is. You're receiving new ideas and you're constructing things right in front of you. That's what he's talking about, on freeing yourself. Okay, so if you free yourself like that and you free yourself of all other distractions, then that's how you can do it, is by doing it and being relentless with it. So if now you know that there are multiple ways to free yourself. How many times you got into a good book and it just got so enthralling to where all you kept doing was just falling deeper and deeper, like, yo, this is never gonna stop. You know, you just keep going deeper and deeper each page. I mean, I was like that with this book, with meditations, okay? But the point is, when you lose yourself through a means of just doing what you love to do. Some people love exercising, and you can sit in the gym for hours on end, you know what I'm saying, and still have more to go. You know what I mean? Not because it's about constantly pushing yourself, but it is about elevating in the gym and being one with who you are and just being one with where you're at, the environment. You know, I got in there this morning, and when I tell you, you know, I love going to the gym. You know, I dropped the kids off at school. I'm heading straight to the gym on a day off like I had today. And when I tell you that it just felt so good to get in there and not be rushed, knowing what I was going to do afterwards, doing this right here, which is one of the things that I want to do. I made sure that this was in my play. And so I'm thinking about this all day in the gym, detached from my body while my mind's somewhere else, working on ideas. But I'm still present. But it's because my body is allowing my mind to be free, and freeing itself, it can go do work elsewhere, you know, by letting the body stay on remote control. It's a beautiful thing. So that's what he's talking about. And I wanted to make sure I honed in on that part because it's super important that when you can reach a level of flow, you will have reached a high level of concentration that cannot be tapped by any other means. Okay. Now let's go on to the next part. He says, yes, you can. I don't know if this is where Obama got his credo from, but this is what Marcus Aurelius said. You know, yes, you can. If you do everything as if it were the last thing you were doing in your life, stop there. It says comma, not a period, but I'm going to stop there. I'm going to put a period in there. Yes, you can. He says with all certainty, like there is no question about it. Yes, you can. If I can, you can. Yes, you can. Now remember, he was writing this to himself. So this is how he's talking to himself. Yes, you can. If you do everything as if it were the last thing you were doing in your life, you can do whatever. He knew you could do whatever you want to do. And it wasn't just because of his stature. It was because he recognized that there was innate power in him. Some would call it God, some would call it universe, call it whatever you choose to, spirit, whatever. There is that thing that's inside of you that allows you to tap into it and achieve that greatness. And that's the reason why I chose Stoicism as a platform to discuss, because I know that with this information, there's great healing that can come to everybody. And then there's great discipline that can be achieved. And the focus that comes with that discipline can garner so many other things that it's amazing of what we could actually do if we're all getting into the Stoic mindset, relinquishing our emotions and doing things on a practical level of uniformity in logos and in the nature and the spirit, and using Sophia, which is the wisdom, to actually, tap in and use our experiences to create what it is that's going to benefit all of us. So this is now my journey, with Stoicism. So I need to bring this to the people because they're not getting this. They're not teaching us this in school. They're definitely not teaching us in the black schools. You know what I'm saying? Now, we have to look and learn through history, but there's also ways that you should be able to tap into philosophies and be able to immediately apply them to the world around you. That's what I do. So listen, he says, yes, you can. If you do everything as if it were the last thing you were doing in your life. In other words, if you did this like your life depended on it, I've got one last act that I can do before I'm out of here. Okay. And what he's saying here is if you can do that level of thinking towards anything that you're doing, you got it. You're able to go for broke. You're able to tap in and go all the way deep with it. You're able to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. And as you get deeper, you're going to see that there's more ways to go, and you're going to change and recalibrate your goals and your objectives and your mission to get this thing accomplished. Man, I can go on with this all day, but this is just one passage. So hear me on this one. All right. He says, and stop being aimless. Whoa. Stop being aimless, man. Aimless means that, think about it. Take it for what it is. Aimless. 2 words, right? That make one word, aimless. Aim, which means to have a target, to be precise, to know what you're going for, to have an aim, to have a purpose, to have a target, something that you're shooting for to accomplish. All right, that's your aim. All right, but you have less meanings the lack thereof. All right, so the lack thereof aiming. So in other words, to have no aim. Now, with that no aim means that you're walking around here without a goal, without an objective, without a mission of what you want to accomplish. You can concentrate on anything and be right. You can concentrate on anything and be right when that's the case, because you're not concentrating on anything specific. So that means you don't even know how to organize your workflow. You don't know how to organize your workflow because you don't know what you want to achieve. Now, let's say that you were supposed to take, I forgot what it's called, but when you take time blocks and you set these time blocks aside to accomplish certain things within that time frame. All right. You set your clock 25 minutes, and in that 25 minutes, you don't want to be disturbed. You're going to turn away all notifications, and you're going to focus on the task at hand. In that task at hand, let's say that you want to complete a spreadsheet and get all the information put into the spreadsheet so it's ready to go so you can send it off. That's one thing that you have to do, and 5 other things that attach to it, but that's the one thing that's a part of the whole. So you get that knocked out within that 25 minutes, time buzzes, you stop, you're done. Done data. You completed the task. Okay. Now that's a time block. That same time block would be, what you're shooting for. So you're taking a shot at what it is that you want to achieve. I heard it better today. And I have to stop on this one. God cannot help you. Now, this is where we sometimes go to God. You know what I mean? Even God, as great as God is, cannot assist you if you don't have aim. Think about that. If you don't know what you want, you don't have a definitive idea of what you're looking for, then you don't have an aim, and not even God can help you. Why? Because you have free will. So if you want to be aimless, guess what? Be aimless and just know that that's more of a sin than a lot of other things that we call sin. All right. Now that was a little religious, dogma, whatever, spiritual side of it, however you want to look at it. That was that. I was using that as an example. Back to what we're talking about. Stop being aimless. Okay. Get a goal, shoot for it, plan for it, attack, and just keep going at it. Whether you hit it or not, the point is you're at least getting it honed in to where it may be over here, first time over here, the second time over here, eventually it gets right dead center. And you now hit that target because you've done it so many times. Now, he also says, stop letting your emotions override what your mind tells you. Ooh. Let me read that again. One more again. Stop letting your emotions override what your mind tells you. Emotions, feelings, nothing more than feelings. Listen, stop letting your emotions. Now, this is where I have to talk to my African American / Black / Indigenous community, FBA, and all that good stuff, all the different labels. I've got to talk to you guys right now, so pull up a chair, okay? Everybody else, you can go get a drink of something, whatever you want to get a drink of, and just come on back. But I definitely want to say this to my African American / Black / Indigenous / FBA / original members of Turtle Island, whatever whatever we're classified as, Afro Americans, whatever. You. The men more so, but now especially the women. See, men, you can understand how everybody's reacting because this is how we used to react a long time ago, and now everybody's finally caught up to us, the way that we're reacting, which is all emotional, getting into our feelings. Yeah, getting into our feelings about nothing. Somebody does something to you and it's automatically, I got to go into my emotions. I got to go into my high voice. And we go into our high voice. What? No. See how I went into my high voice? It wasn't as authentic as it would be as if you caught me going into my high voice, because I don't even control that sometimes. But that's what this Stoicism is going to help us do, okay? That's why I'm doing this, for us, because we need to know how to control our emotions, because if we were to learn how to control our emotions, we would be dangerous. It's not the intelligence. They've got us souped. It's not the intelligence. It's not the knowledge. Knowledge is power. It's not any of that, dude. It's a mixture of all of it. But the truth is, man, it's having emotional control. The discipline to control your emotions is one of the greatest disciplines you can take on, because then you can truly, one, control yourself and start learning more about yourself to where you can jump in on a different level. So I had to take you guys there because we have this thing where we do a lot of things to each other based off of emotion. Okay, so start thinking about that. Ask yourself, am I acting and responding out of, if number one, am I reacting? Okay, because if you're reacting, then 9 times out of 10, it's going to be out of emotion. Unless you take time, stop, breathe, calculate an idea, strategize a plan, and implement that strategy to see if it works to accomplish what you need done. Okay, just keep that in mind. Just had to take a second for you guys. Hope you got that. If not, rewind it back, share it, like it, save it, whatever. Make a snippet out of it. Put it on IG, put it on TikTok, put it on whatever you want. That I'm saying that because that's the breakdown that's coming from to. You get it? All right, let's go. Anyways, now that's been said. Everybody, I hope you guys had a good break. Got your drink, changed the music, flipped the baby, kissed the wife, did whatever you had to do. Come on back in. Let's go. Now, stop being hypocritical. We gotta stop being hypocritical. I think that goes without saying. Everybody knows it. But I think it's so natural and so commonplace and such a pattern of who we've come to be that being hypocritical only makes sense. Because I can't want something good for my kid over here and not want something good for another kid over there. That's being hypocritical. I can't say I'm a humanitarian and only want to feed one set of people. That's being hypocritical. I can't want to say that I'm the Black Stoic and I only talk to blacks. That's being hypocritical. And the number one reason why it's being hypocritical is because with Stoicism was back in the day one of the only schools of thoughts that, there were a couple other philosophies that where, like anybody was welcome. Everybody was welcome to sit, intake, dispel, proof, debate, whatever. And it was love. And that was the reason why they shut it down. That's the reason why the Roman Empire attempted to shut down, even to the point of killing the likes of some of the great philosophers, Socrates, amongst many. So, with that being said, stop being hypocritical. Okay, this is what Marcus Aurelius says. This is not me. I'm just breaking it down for you, so don't get, don't shoot the messenger, all right? Anyways, let's go. Self-centered, irritable, self-centered, narcissistic, focused on me, myself, and I. Now, when me, myself, and I are the primary focus, that's not a bad thing. As long as it's being done for the betterment of everything. See, you got to take care of yourself first. When you're on a plane and something's going wrong, those masks drop down, what do they tell you to do? What's instruction number one? Safely secure the mask on your face before you try and secure the mask on someone else's. First thing they say. Rule of thumb, 101, save your own ass first, because if you can't save your own ass, how can you save somebody else's? Okay? If you can't swim, don't jump into the water because you're going to die. But in turn, think, stop, breathe, calculate, strategize, come up with a plan, then implement that plan and change the strategy if necessary. Get something long and extended to give to that person who is flailing around in the water like they can't swim. Doesn't make sense for you to jump in and you can't swim because you're asking for what? The price of two. The Reaper gets 2 for 1. Let's go, man. We got to use our noggin, man, because this is the only thing we've had for all of these years to help us cultivate this world, this around us. This is time for us as men, as women, as children, as people to tap back into this. Because too many have made money, have made a living, have made empires off of exercising theirs against ours. And when I say ours, I mean those who are capitalizing off of the have-nots. Ours, okay? Now, you see how few things you have to do to live a satisfying and reverent life. Whoa, come on now. When you start looking at all the things we talked about, he's saying that if you see how all those things play into your life and all the things that you attach to them, look at those as categories, and those categories are eventually filled up to the brim because they're parts of our life that we exercise every day doing the same thing. Well, guess what? If we're aimless, emotional, hypocritical, self-centered, irritable, there's a reason for that. Yeah, that comes from a reason. Now, what's the reason? What's the reason for that? A lot of the reason that I find myself being unhappy at times is because I'm not serving my purpose, or I don't feel like I'm serving my purpose. I'm dedicating and I'm expending time in places or with people or doing things that do not have anything to do with my purpose. But yet, when I'm working on my purpose, let's say if I only get 1 hour out of the day to work on my purpose, and I'm engulfed in that hour, one or two things are going to happen. Either I'm going to look up and I'm going to realize that that hour went by so fast, like, where did it go? Or that hour, I'm going to be so enthralled, in that hour, it's going to seem like 2 or 3 hours. Like just digging deep and digging deep and digging deep and just finding different things, You know what I'm saying? That like, yo, I didn't know this. I didn't know that. Side note, side jewels. Oh man, plus degree, extra lessons. Wow. That's what we're talking about. So it doesn't take much to live a satisfying and reverent life. That means you can go anywhere, walk and talk with anyone you choose to. You can go places that other people can't go because you're not going in fear. So you're not held back by the same proclivities. I would like to use that $5 word, thank you. Proclivities, hang-ups that other people would have, okay? So those people have those hang-ups because they're in this. They're caught up in the soup. They don't know if it's Campbell's, Progresso. They don't know. Minestrone, beef stew, they don't know. They're caught up in it. It's whatever is designed for that moment for them because they allowed themselves to be controlled. So somebody else has to design the game of play or the arena or the field of play or the court or the place of interaction. You show up, they control it. But if you know who you are, then when you show up, you take your world with you. So even if you're being summoned, when you show up, your world is still the world of fascination inside of someone else's world. If you can manage this, that's all even the gods can ask. Of course, they spoke of multiple gods back then because obviously they were into polytheism. Okay, so that was a big thing back then. But you can understand, supplement that to where we're at right now with the monotheistic type of mentality, and then you just say, the God. If you want to say God is a female, great. If you want to say it's a male, great. If you want to say it's one being, two sides, great. Whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. The point is, get the lesson. Get the lesson. Concentration is the key to tapping into and leaving this world and moving past through quantum leaps and bounds into the new world. In this new world that awaits, where your creative nature is celebrity, is saluted, desired, called for. Let's talk about solutions and how you can use a passage like this to better yourself, to better your situation, to increase your focus. So if you know that focus is one of the things that you need work on, let's look at some different ways where we can actually implement some different options. I gave you one earlier. It's called block time. Block time allows you to cut things into small time frames. Okay, then what you do is, after, let's say it's a 25-minute time frame, you go into it with a goal specific to, let's say, recording a video. It works. With that, you say within 25 minutes, I'm going to record a video. I'm going to do my talk and I'm going to be done. Okay, so you set that timer for 25 minutes and you go to town. Once you get done with that, you give yourself a 5-minute break, whatever it is, to, decompress. And then you can go into the next thing, whatever other part of the thing that is, whether it's a different section of the objectives that you have broken down, or if it's something totally different. Doesn't matter. Point is, break things down into blocks, give yourself a 5-minute break, stay focused, and don't let anything compromise that time. If it does, either start back over or pause the time frame, just so you can get back on it, and make sure that you're only doing that every now and again. You want to make sure that this is where you're, as he says, this is where you're genuinely serious, okay? Or genuine seriousness, as he said it. But I'm going to say it differently, genuinely serious. Because this is the thing that you've got to be an a-hole about sometimes, is your time. So don't be afraid to say no, especially if you've got something going on. Because being gorilla, which is where we pound our chest and get our fur right and make sure that we're accomplishing what we got to accomplish, we know we're going to have to fight for our life with life. Why? Because life is always happening. So somebody's always coming in, and, just like recently, you would have never known because it's been edited out. While I'm doing this, multiple things are happening. But I've got to make sure that I'm editing and I'm being a part of the ecosystem that I'm around while still finding a way to nurture the ecosystem that I'm speaking to. So if you get it, you got it, good. Now, with all that being said, what's some other ways that we can intensify our focus? Number one, create the environment that you want. Because if you create the environment you want, let's look at it like a video game, okay? Well, in a video game, the first thing you create is your character, okay? Now, knowing that the surroundings have already been made for you is how you're going to be interacting, you can choose that character the way you want it to choose. Now, with that being said, once you go into each situation, even though the surroundings have been made up, you know who your character is in the world that he represents. So you bring that world with you. Okay, so even though you're playing the paradigm in someone else's world, doesn't matter. You're bringing your world with you, what you stand for, what principles, what character you are, who you are when no one's looking. Appease that person, okay? Because that person should show up when people are looking. So if you know of any other ways, go and write them down in the comments. People always like to share good information. Sometimes it is best shared from one source to another source. And if that's the case, I'm glad that I can help be a conduit to get that message through from one party to the next. Anyways, I want to say thank you for joining us here on the Stoic Habitat. I'm your man, Gorilla Number One, aka the Black Stoic. And keep in mind that if you're not thinking, someone's thinking for you. And you don't want somebody to think for you. Either way. You know how we do it. 2 dubs, 4 corners, north, east, west, and south. Peace, prosperity, and preservation. God, family, gorilla. Thank you for joining us here on the Black Stoic.